Afternoon from Area 51 Raceway. So, I have a NSR Digital 917 Porsche, and I've had this car for quite a while. This is completely stock. This is before I ever really fiddled with anything, to be honest, with these NSR cars. So, when I had my track early on, all I did was stick a digital chip in this sucker here. Left two magnets in it. It's got two magnets. It's got a suspension kit on it, which I put on, but I wasn't really not knowing much back then. And then also I had a Frankenslot guide installed on it that I did now, and they are tinned braids on here, tinned coppered braids. I can't say that word. So I'm going to run this car around to show you that even these cars you could deal with digitally also. And again, this is not even set up, the front axle or nothing. So we're just going to run this around just to show you what it is in digital. And then what I'm going to do is take the magnets out and replace the guide and set it up to where you could still have an NSR car handle really nicely with a digital chip, and it gives you the ability to change lanes. As you can see, there's a little IR sensor on there. I don't know if you could see that, but there's definitely one right there. So I'm just gonna throw it on the track, and this is basically how you get these cars with a magnet and just run them around. Again, this thing hasn't ran in a while, so I mean, see, that's what you have, just basically a untuned car, really, with magnets and a digital chip running around. And you could run it around the outside, which you won't fall off, but the inside you have to kind of deal with. Now I have the track at 13.3 volts. I didn't put it up to 14.8 because these cars are pretty fast the way they are if you turn up the juice, and it becomes uncontrollable and unmanageable like that. That almost fell in the other slot there. Beauty about digital is that you could run on any lane, and you could change lanes, and you could have more competitors with these. So I'm just doing this for the digital guys because I don't want to seem like I'm biased just doing tuned cars for analog. So this is the first segment here we're going to go over, and we're going to head over to the bench, and you're going to see how we get this car, remove the magnets and get it set up for digital track with a digital chip. So let's head to the bench. So welcome back to the bench here. Here we are. We have the car here. This is an NSR Sidewinder 917 Piper car. This is what they call, this should be the land check, which is the long tail. So this ain't a K, which is a short tail, but I could be wrong because it has these fins. But I'm not certain because I think the land check was a little longer in the back. But anyways, this is a really nice NSR slot car. I've had this for like 3 years, I would say. I haven't really done anything to it. I put a digital chip, left the magnets in it, and left it at that when I was, just because I was doing magnets and digital at the time. So I want to do a tuning for the digital people. So this car has I believe it has a Techslotnik chip in it, and I'm going to take it apart for the first time in a while, and we'll just remove the body screws, of course. There's one. And the body screws were not even adjusted on this either. They were all the way tight when we ran it on the track. So this is just basically a out-of-the-box car with a chip in it. So here we go. So here's the Techslotnik chip that I have installed in it. This is a really good chip. I have it obviously glued on there with hot glue. And what's nice about this chip is that it's really compact. You can use a Carrera digital chip, but it would be kind of big, and then you'd have the little switch for switching it to analog that would be kind of in the way of the pod. This kind of makes it nice, and it's tucked in right here. But we're gonna do a few things with it, and you can see I use hot glue on the wires here also, and we're gonna peel all that off. So what we're gonna do is just pop that off because it's hot glue, just like that. And the magnets don't affect the chip at all. Hopefully this thing will still work when I'm done with it because I had to pull this hot glue off of it, but all the wires are still intact here, as you can see, as I'm taking them out and removing the hot glue. And there we go. And then what we're going to do is, again, more hot glue here. We're going to get rid of these leads here and use different leads, the slot car corner leads. As you can see, I soldered them in here. A lot of people are scared of soldering. You shouldn't be scared of soldering. It's really simple. It's not very difficult, and you can see it's already got suspension kit in it, so I'm not going to even worry about even messing with it, having to deal with any of this. And this, I believe, should be a hard suspension. As you can see how tall the springs are here. And what we're going to do again is just do some modifications on this and solder wires into this, and replace this guy with a slot invasion, adjust the front axle, because the axles I don't think was ever really adjusted to begin with, to be honest. And looks like it was a little bit, we'll see. And then get rid of these magnets and really run this car with just a modification of the guide, the wires, and moving the front axle down maybe a little bit, and adjusting the pod and the body screws, and pretty much it. As you can see, I also cut that out to accommodate the chip, so we'll have to put the chip in the same position so it doesn't get in the way when we put the car in. So let's get started, and you'll see in a moment here when I get to it. Here we are. We got the front axle off, took the lead wires off, and of course these are easy to pull out because they are the ferrule type, so to me they're not really worth putting back on. Now what I've done here with the guide is that you see I've with these slot invasion guides, they will be a little bit taller, and then what I do is I cut it down so that it'll be flush with this here, because what happens is if you have it too tall and then you try and screw it down, then it'll have, you can't screw it down all the way to where you can get it tight or adjust it, otherwise it'll stick out like this, and you start getting slop. When you get slop, up and down movement, it's not good, and it just creates more issues. So I got it nice and flush. I've filed it down to where I believe I have it nice and easy like that. It should spin on there nice and fairly easy like that. Just work it in. You just have to use your file and just go gingerly, don't go crazy, and just make it nice and nice. You want that nice flow right there. Then what we're going to do is solder the lead wires onto the chip, and we'll do that in just a moment here. We're going to do our set screw method, and one thing I want to point out is, remember, when you're doing the wire, you want it to be the same length as the length of the bulkhead. Do you see that there? You don't want it too long because you don't want the wire protruding out. So when it's cut, you want it cut the exact height of what this is, and I think this is 3 millimeters, maybe a little under 3. You can see that. If you go too far and it sticks out, you don't want that. That's not a good thing. So when you solder these and get them ready, you want them, again, like I said, same distance as that. So we'll go ahead and solder these. Then what you're going to do is get some linesman pliers like this and go to the end of it right here, just like so. Just leave a little bit showing there, and then just give a little squeeze, and you flatten the wire. That's what you want to do. And then what's going to happen is you're going to insert it into the bulkhead here. You made room with the toothpick. I already did that earlier, so you would do this. Just kind of shove your toothpick in there, make some room, and then get this. Insert the wire in there. I usually tuck it in as far as I can. And then you're going to get your set screw, and you're going to put it inside there and thread it in, and that's going to hold your wire on. So we'll get this all finished up and we'll come back. Okay, we're back, and we've pre-tinned our wires on both of these right here, as you can see. So on the instructions here for the chip, and they're going to tell you right here, so cable black is negative and cable red is positive, obviously without plugs, as you can see right here. Let me get that up there. Okay, so it says braids here. This chip's really easy to connect. It's very basic. There's nothing difficult. So here I go. I'm going to solder this right here, and I have helping hands help me out. And I put some flux, and I got some shrink tubing on the other side of this one here, so I could slide it on and heat it up. And then what I'm going to do is just add a little heat here and solder the wires together, just like that. And there you go, all soldered up. Getting helping hands out of the way. Give it a little tug. Looks like it's in good shape. Not going to go anywhere. And then what we'll do is we'll get our shrink tube wire and pull it over the part that we soldered, just like that. And then what I'll do is you could get a lighter. I'll get like the heat of the iron here and just kind of put heat on it to shrink it on there. And it will shrink on there. That's what it's designed to do. Just like that. There you go. You got a solid connection. Okay, here we're back, so we have everything put together. We have our chip. I used double-sided tape to put it on here because I was going to hot glue it, and I put a little bit of the UV glue here back here to hold it stable, so it shouldn't come off. It shouldn't be no problem. The pod is free and clear to move around, so nothing's obstructing it. Then I put some UV glue here on the wires to hold them down. This IR sensor is hot glue, which was already there. I got my slot invasion guide and my set screw, style of holding the wires in, and then I put some UV glue here in the center. Made sure this flips nice and back and forth so that it moves really easy, and it does. Adjusted my height and the front axles where I want it to, where they're barely touching, just like that. And then make sure this is probably need a little bit more adjustment there to keep that from moving around, because I like these to be like not be able to go up and down, no lateral, up and down movement, but it's nice and smooth. You can see that's what it should do, is what you want. And we're ready to go. We're going to place the body on, and then we'll go to the track and see how it does. Hey, welcome back to the track. We have our NSR Porsche 917. This is the digital version of it because I put a digital chip in this. This is the Techslotnik Chip. Adjusted the ride height, and what I did, the front axle, and make sure it was barely touching. What I did with this also is that I put the NSR body screws, so we got full body float on this. So I bottomed them out as much as I could, and that's how much body float you have on this, and it actually does real well with it. I completely just put them on there, and this is it. And we're running at 13.3 volts on this track, so you can see this is really easy to tip it over because it's really set high. Now you guys that have digital control units, of course, you can adjust the speed and the brake. So there's no brake when we're at 13 volts, 13.3 volts. I went 14.8, probably a little bit too unmanageable. Right now it's actually doing pretty good with 13.3 volts. And you see changes, whoops, missed that with this fishtailing here. I'll change lanes over there so you can see that the chip. And just like that, and we'll change lanes there. And also go into the pit stop as well. Oh, a little bit too much throttle there. Trying to get into the pit stop and then press the button in time. Try it now. There you go. And into the pit lane. Make sure again. Into the pit lane. Just try it again. Make sure it works. So I mean, it works as a digital car. So the Techslotnik Chip is tiny enough to put in there, and it won't interfere with the motor pod or nothing. It's in the right place. You'll have to modify the interior a little. As you modify, you'll have to cut here and there. So there's a little bit of the driver cut out and the cockpit's cut out if you're willing to do that. So this is it right here. Oh, and that just kicked out right there. My other camera went dead, so I can't do the other camera. That's what I'm doing it from my iPhone. Not bad for 13.3 volts. And finally got it, fixed in there to tune to do what I want it to do. Well, as soon as I say that, it deslocks and turns freaking free. And I use the inside lane to show that, how good it handles. If I use the outside lane, it's too easy. So when I test and tune my cars, I always use the inside lane. That's going to be the most difficult lane. Here's the outside. You see we're at 13.3 volts. Oh, and it just fell off right there. Get it back on the track. Put it on there. And not bad. So that's it from Area 51 Raceway. I hope you enjoyed this little tuning session for my track, and you can do it on a digital car and convert it to digital. So this is basically a digital car NSR car tuned for Carrera Track to run around as a digital car because it's digitalized. So that's it from here. If you do one race way, you take care, and as always, have fun racing.